In the summer of 1917, the Allies began a major offensive to push back the German army and to finally break out of their precarious positions in the salient. On the 31st of July, after 2 weeks of intense shelling, the infantry attack was launched. The Third Battle of Ypres would rage for the following 100 days and eventually come to an end at a small village on the high ground, Passchendaele. This is the story of that battle, told by the men who were there.
I was 19 years of age. I was in the front line trench at Passchendaele. Now Passchendaele, when I knew it, was flat. Everything was blown to pieces.
On that morning, the 31st of July, we were told we were going over the top. The terrain was very, very difficult. Shell holes, some of them you could drop a house in.
We entered the front line. Shell holes over shell holes, all filled with water. On the other side, there were the snipers, and they were very good marksmen. And the artillery fired at everyone whom they saw in these fields.
About 8 o'clock in the morning, one of those whiz-bang shells landed about 2 feet under me and blew me right over the whole place, and my section was almost buried, but fortunately the shell did not explode, thank God.
The air was boiling with the turmoil of the shells flying through it. We were thrown about in the aircraft, rocking from side to side, being thrown up and down. Below us was mud, filth, smashed trenches, wreckage of airplanes, bits of men. And as we came out of it, I felt that we had escaped from one of the most evil things that I have ever seen at any time in any of the flying that occurred to me during that war.
And I'll wager a hat full of guineas against all of the songs you can sing, that someday you'll love and the next day you'll lose, and winter will turn into spring, and the snow falls, the wind calls, and the year turns round again. And like barleycorn who rose from the grave, a new year will rise up again.
Father used to tell me that when he was a little one, he used to get himself in all sorts of trouble. He always said that the worst scrape he got himself into was the First World War. And the worst battle he was in was at Passchendaele. And he was there all because of an horse. He was a farm boy when the war broke out. 15, that's all. Like me, he didn't get a lot of schooling. He always said you could learn most of what was worth knowing from keeping your eyes and ears peeled. Anyway, that's by the by. Father had this young colt, Joey, he called him. Broke him to altar. Broke him to ride. Broke him to plough. Grew up together, they did. Best friends. Meant the world to each other. And if ever that horse got sick, Father would bed down beside him in his stable till he was better. He loved that horse like a brother he did. Now, Father weren't old enough yet to join up, but Joey was. Father was busy with Joey out in the fields. He weren't thinking about the war. He was thinking about his ploughing. He didn't know the army would come into the village looking for good, sturdy horses to buy for the cavalry, for pulling guns or ammunition wagons or ambulances. They needed all the horses they could get, and they were paying good money too.
Come on, Joey. Come on! Come on! Come on!
It was his own father who done it. Done it without telling him. Done it behind his back. His father took Joey up to the village and sold him off to the army.
Father, no. No! Father!
£40 he got for him. Albert squared up to his father and told him just what he thought of him. Said goodbye to his mother and told them he was off to join up to find his Joey and bring him home. Nothing they could say would stop him. Now, there's millions of men over there at the front in Belgium, and millions of horses too. Needle in an haystack, you might think. Father told me, and you'd be right. Just staying alive was the difficult bit. The worst was at the Battle of Passchendaele. He always said that. Hell on earth, he called it. For men and horses both. The horses died just the same way the man did. Shell fire, machine gun fire, barbed wire. And every horse Father saw, dead or alive, he thought it might be his Joey. Then, at first light, one grey, misty morning, Father's on stand 2 in the trenches, on lookout for German attack. And he looks out through the mist, and he sees something moving out there. Not a German, not a cow, but a horse. A horse in no man's land. Well, he never thinks twice. He loves horses, all horses. So he's got to go out there and fetch him in, hasn't he? Quick as a twig, Father is up and over the top and stumbling through the mud towards this horse. Trouble is, there's this German bloke doing just the same thing. And he's waving a white flag. No one shoots. So the two of them, a Fritz and a Tommy, had a nice little chat.
So what do we do now?
The German spoke a little English. Father didn't know hardly a word of German.
We don't want to start a war now, do we?
The German bloke laughs, takes a coin out of his pocket, holds it up, and says,
I have a good idea, Tommy. Let us
Toss for the horse. You call.
Seemed like a fair idea to Father, so he calls.
Hats.
That, I'm afraid to say, is the face of my Kaiser looking up at me. He does not look pleased.
The two of them shook hands and wished each other well.
Auf Wiedersehen, Tommy.
Same to you, Fritz.
So, Father won, and you guessed it. When they got that horse back to the veterinary hospital and cleaned him down, and that took some doing, Father said, it was his Joey standing there. That takes some believing, I know, but it's true enough, I'm telling you. Father always said he and Joey were the lucky ones. They came home at the end of the war, and the whole village was there to meet them. Bells ringing, band playing, flags flying. But all Father could think of, he told me, as they rode up into the village that day were the millions of men and horses on all sides, for whom the bells were not ringing, the band not playing, who were not coming home.
The lambkin in the manger, the light upon the lea, the moorland yields to glory, the shepherds bend the knee, and all are wrapped in grace, and all are gifted worth. Peace walks upon this blessed land. Peace walks upon this blessed land. Peace walks upon this blessed land. Goodwill upon
On the second day it began to rain, and rained continuously, so that the bog of Passchendaele spread out into a lake. And to begin with, we were sitting up to our knees in mud and water.
Now, the mud at Passchendaele was very viscous indeed, very tenacious, but it also stuck to you all over. It slowed you down. It got into the bottom of your trousers, and you were covered with mud. It drew at you, not like a quicksand, but a real monster that sucked at you.
Because of the mud, there were no trenches, just shell holes. That forward line was made of shell holes. The men were wet to the skin day after day. Their overcoats were plastered with mud. So you can imagine how hard it was to move at all.
I remember very well trying to assist a lad. We called to him. I said, "Are you hit, son?" He said, "Yes, I am a little." There was no hope of getting to him. He's in the middle of this huge sea of mud. And the look on the lad's face was really pathetic, but I couldn't do a thing. Had I bent a little more, I was to go on in with them, as so many did.
I don't know how far the duckboards extended, but each side was a sea of mud. You stumbled and slugged along. If you slipped, you went up to to the waist, possibly. Not only that, but in every pool was decomposed bodies of humans and mules, perhaps both. And if you were wounded and slipped off, well, then that was the end of you.